Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Oh, Wonka. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. I'm BJ Granville. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we're doing a very, blessed Jesus, a very, very great review of Wonka with Timothée Chalamet and all the people up in there. And it's gonna be super dope, so I'm super excited. Y'all, okay, first of all, we're gonna go ahead and announce this. I'm gonna be touching my eye. I'm touching my eye because these contacts ain't been acting right. And so I'm fighting behind this or in front of this camera, y'all, so y'all gonna have to bear with me, okay? We're trying to see each other. Anyway, but we're doing a review of Wonka with Timothée Chalamet. I'm super excited for it. So let's jump into it. Let's go. All right. What's up, y'all? I'm here with
Lola,
and we're gonna go see the Wonka movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's go. Boom. All right, y'all. So to go ahead and look, to go ahead and just set the vibe, I will probably spoil 80% of this movie. I'm looking into the camera because I will spoil 80% of this movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, or you really want to see it, y'all might want to go ahead and click out because that's just what's gonna be at this point. It's titled Wonka because I feel like it goes along with the whole like Cruella, what was it, Maleficent, like this is the origin story of Willy Wonka. And so it pretty much gives the whole energy of how he got to, you know, the chocolate factory moment. So first of all, y'all already know I have to talk about the fact that this angle that we're coming from, we're not just coming from, oh, I wanted to go see a movie, da-da-da. No. No. See, this is what I have to break down. I played Willy Wonka my senior year of high school. And ironically enough, and y'all are going to hear me talk about this throughout the channel, but it was very much a good bit. It was a challenge. 2, it was a triumph. And 3, there was so much self-improvement that I met, or that I was able to kind of get through when I was talking about when I was playing the role. I auditioned for the role, right? You know, same as high school plays go. Hey, you walk in the room, you do a monologue. Pretty much I got a call back for Wonka, and I put down on my audition sheet, I was like, I'm not taking any other role because it is my senior year of high school. This play, there's not too many great roles in the show, if I'm being very honest with y'all. And so I need to play him, you know? I originally got rejected from the role, and it wasn't an official rejection. It was a people talk, you know what I mean? Especially when you have students as your assistant directors, people are gonna say stuff. And so when I found out that this other guy, he was white, super tall white guy, he's amazing actor by the way, but he got the role, I was like, cool, I'll just go ahead and remove myself because I'm not trying to be embarrassed. But the whole gag, but the gag is, y'all, we have to have good grades if we're gonna be in this show. But guess who has good grades? Oh, right. Anyway, say that. So on top of that, the fact that I had to have good grades was like already like a no-brainer. But I was ready. I had an audition because, I mean, as an MT, I had an audition for Emerson. So that I was waiting for, and that audition was literally the day after originally set the day of closing. I'm pretty sure. And so I was pretty much like, okay, cool. I made my appointment for the day of closing. It doesn't matter because I'm not in the show, right? I get a text message, and it's like, are you sure you don't want to be considered for any other role? And I was like, nah, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to be Wonka. If I'm not Wonka, I don't want to be in the show, period. And it's that simple. And y'all, I feel like that's very much like, you can easily like, oh, you're a diva. Like, you need to accept an ensemble role. You need to accept the role of whoever's dad or whoever's mom. But it's like, if that's not what I want to be giving, I'm not gonna do that, and I have the right to. You know what I mean? And I was like, no, I'm good. And he was like, all right, cool. You don't want to be in any other role. I got you. But then he came to the classroom that I was working on a show in, and he was like, do you still want to remove yourself from consideration for the show? Because remember, y'all, after I found out I wasn't getting it, I removed myself from consideration. Period. So I was like, no, I can be considered. And I was like, for what role? And he was like, well, I mean, you only want one role. And I was like, yeah. And so from that day, I was cast as Wonka. And it's even funnier because I told all my mentees and the kids that I'm a teacher. I was a teacher assistant for. I was like, I didn't get the role, and it's perfectly fine. I mean, that's the game. But the game was also the fact that you have to bring more than just your talent to the table. Like, I will say, my callback was not like the best out of everybody. Like, I'm very much the type of actor, I like to sit with the material, because my biggest thing as an actor in general is that I want to be truthful. And that, my artistic integrity is one of the strongest things that I feel that I have, because I'm real. If it's not giving, it's not giving. And I'm not about to get up there and play pretend. But I really wanted to capture a hurt soul. Like, when we talk about like people that have a dream deferred, you know what I mean? When we think about these people like, what is his name? Donald Glover in A Raisin in the Sun, how he talks about this dream that he has for his family, how he wants to provide for his family, etc. When we think about Troy in Fences, like of course I'm talking about black actors, even though Wonka isn't typically played black, but they have a dream deferred, and that's what fuels their reason for their actions. So in this situation, Wonka's dream was deferred. It's not like the dream was deferred and you're trying to fight for the dream, or you're fighting for other aspects of your dream, or things that you could hold on to even though you didn't get your dream. Like, Wonka's dream was completely shut down because of people that kind of tried to steal from him, essentially. And so when I think about stuff like that, that's what's very much that's the tea on that. And so that's why this show specifically means so much to me, because I didn't think I was gonna be able to remember. Y'all, it's the play. And give me 1 second. Okay. So I'm back. But this play, when I tell y'all, it is literally Wonka. Hold on, can y'all see it? Yeah, these are the lines that I had to memorize, and that's just how it worked. How do you? Right there, the whole paragraph. No, y'all, this is the worst one. When he first gets to when we get to the room where, you know, Augustus falls down the chocolate, y'all. Like, hold on, that was Charlie's. First of all, monologues for days in this whole entire show. But like, when I talk about the whole Oompa Loompa thing, like, I didn't think that I was gonna be able to memorize that and get through. I remember I was in the airport, and with all the musical theater stuff going on, it's like, how am I supposed to get through learning the show while I'm traveling different places, Atlanta, LA, wherever else I was going, to audition for all these schools, simultaneously trying to memorize a script that's long as hell. So I mean, I did it. And it's honestly one of the best theatrical experiences of my life. I mean, pictures, boom. Like, so I feel like I looked so good. I feel like I felt so good, and I had so much support from my peers and my colleagues throughout the show that it's just like, oh my goodness, like I was just so grateful for the opportunity that I got. And like when I tell y'all, they had me dressed down. Like I was able to keep this from the show. This is it right? Yeah, this is my chocolate bar from that was on my actually on my hat. And speaking of hat. Y'all see it? Y'all see it? Y'all see it? Hold on, let me zoom out. Y'all see the hat? Y'all see the hat? Straight from the movie. But anyway, it had the chocolate bar on my hat throughout the whole show. Y'all, it was so dope. It was so dope. And then, it literally has a whole golden ticket in it. And this is like one of my like Secret Santa like everything like from the second I was cast, everybody was calling me Billy Bonka. Like it was very much because B instead of a W. Yeah. Billy Bonka, or like there was just so many different things that just became Willy Wonka themed in my life, and I'm just so grateful for the fact that I was able to do that, especially like at the school that I've been at for 7 years, y'all. Literally 7 years at my school when I was doing my 2023 recap. It's like, that is a crazy amount of time to be at the same school. That's why we were shouting when we walked across the stage and graduated. But yeah, so that said, let's go ahead and jump into what the Wonka movie was about. So, Wonka.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
It's good. It was good. I liked it.
I loved it. I feel like... Alright, so boom. Camera died. It happens. Anyway, I was saying how much, like, I feel like I'm always in the dream idea, you know? And so anytime somebody talks about a dream, it's like the best thing ever. So now I got something to add to the tagline. Mm-hmm. Cause see the tagline is, what is it? It's go after your dreams for those that are after you. You know what I mean? Because it's the whole idea that like dreams are connected. You know what I mean? So it's like if my dream is tied into your dream, and I have to make sure my dream comes true because then
my dream.
Right.
Okay,
you see?
okay,
But see, in the movie in Wonka, they were saying how every great thing in this world started with a dream. And I was like, ah. And then it was about his mom's and his mom's chocolate and his chocolate. So now the whole idea is that every great thing in this world started with a dream. So you should go after your dreams for those that are after you. See, and that's the thing. So, and also I have to play Wonka again because I mean, playing Wonka one time was great, but like if I played it again, yeah, that'd be dope. In the musical, because Timothée Chalamet, he was singing, but he was just singing. I want to sing. Yeah, that's it.
I think I want to play Oompa Loompa again. that little Oompa Loompa, it was so cute.
The Oompa Loompa saved the day, y'all. Yeah. I'm not to spoil the movie, but
I think the little black girl, she did a great job. You told me that she was Charlie.
Well, she's like the Charlie character. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like she's part of the inspiration that, like, a young person can, like, help someone grow. Yeah, help someone grow. You know what I mean? The whole idea that, like, a dream exists in someone else as well. So, like, it was almost like I have to help her achieve her dreams. You know, it's almost like his dream of creating chocolate was tied into her dream of finding her family. Yeah. You know? So it's like dreams all around everyone. So let's really break it down. First of all, let's talk about the cast. So, I know y'all are waiting to hear it. Timothée Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet as Willy Wonka. Young Willy Wonka. Fresh off the boat Willy Wonka. Y'all, I was talking with my friend Heaven about this. She's one of my besties. I was talking with her about this. I loved the fact that he proved all y'all out there that thought he couldn't do it and thought it would be cringy and thought it would be... Now, hold on. He's a white boy, so, I mean, you kind of got to... We will take what we can get. But he proved y'all wrong. He really proved y'all wrong. Like, he ate down. Like, so, like, the show starts in a solo. You know what I mean? He's at the top of the boat that he's riding to... he's trying to get to the Gallery Gourmet because that's where they sell all the fancy chocolate. he sings his first song called A Hat Full of Dreams, and it starts off slow, and it's pretty much like one of those, like, I did this, and now I'm coming here, and I have this much money, and now I'm about to get there, and he gets there during the song, of course, and he pretty much ends up running out of money, etc. Now, y'all, his voice, I will give it to him. He was singing. He was singing. He wasn't singing, but he was singing. For real. But I'm very big on choreography, and choreography is the art of planning and arranging movement into a meaningful whole. However, I feel like he was able to do it in a way that was very much in character and very much not too dancey, and also dancey enough. And I feel like that's very hard to find, especially when you have a character that isn't a dancer. Like, how do you make them dance and dance appropriately for themselves? And not, because, you know, some people can dance down, but it's like, is that your character? Would your character be able to move like that? You know what I mean? So finding that quirky, weird moment where you can kind of go in and then still pull back a little bit, so you know that you're not just dancing just to dance. You're dancing in character. That's very important. Timothée Chalamet played Willy Wonka. We knew that. Miss Girl, her name is Calla Lane. She played Noodle. Now, y'all can fight me on this. Y'all can say what y'all want to say. Noodle is the Charlie character. I'm just gonna say it. If there is a Charlie character, Noodle is the Charlie character. Period. Hold on. So she meets him, and once again, her voice really reminded me of Quinven Shane Wallace, who played Annie in the 2014 version. And not all black girls sound the same. They don't. We very much know that. But I will say their voices do favor because of the timbre of her voice. So they sing this song called For a Moment. And essentially For a Moment is that moment of like, I'm happy, but how long will I be happy? For a moment. You see what they did there. And she sing this for a moment. Like, that's the whole idea. Don't let your guard up, da 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 da, for a moment. Boom, boom, boom. And he starts singing Noodle, Noodle, Apple Strudel, very much giving that Wonka Willy weird vibe. And so they come together and they have this moment of happiness right before he almost gets caught. But overall, I really feel like she was the sunshine of the movie. She's in more trouble, essentially. But she still has that, I'm gonna help people get to where they're going, etc. And I find that so refreshing. Because how many times do we get to see a black girl kind of not play the weird, the sassy, the princess role, the da-da-da. No, she ate down. And she was probably one of the smartest of the cast. Boom. And in fact, she teaches Willy how to read. Ain't that something? The white boy ain't got the knowledge. Now, don't get me wrong, Willy Wonka, he's still a genius. But you see what I'm saying? Like, breaking these norms, it's giving. It's very much going to give us a good show. You know? Our Oompa Loompa, he's hilarious. Love him. His name is Hugh Grant. He gave us the energy for what the Oompa Loompa was there for. You know what I mean? Like, why had the Oompa Loompa in the origin story? And we see how he's stealing chocolate, etc. And it very much, I like how he almost gave the Oompa Loompa more depth than just, I'm one of the people that are going to end up working for Wonka. He gave the depth of how this chocolate means something to the Oompa Loompas. And that is very important. So next up, we have Grubbit and her little sidekick, whoever his name was. He's the one that tricks Wonka into coming in, and she's the one that's running the little iron and clothing store that she got all these people working in the basement because they owe her dues because they didn't read the small print. We get the vibe. And so they are a very nice pair to watch together. I feel like it's very hard. It's not always the easiest to find two characters that are gonna complement each other in the way that they do. But I feel like they very much were able to kind of like give. You know what I mean? Make your partner look good. That's the number one rule. One of the rules of improv. You know, we talk about stuff like that in the theater world. And I feel like they both were able to kind of lean into what the other one meant to them, as well as how much effect their presence have on each other, because essentially they don't have to be working together, but I feel like when they're able to kind of like step back and be like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing, we get to see why they work together, how they work together, and pretty much what job they're doing for each other, you know. So the last two groups of people I'm gonna acknowledge are gonna be pretty much one. We just met, you know, Scrubbit, her sidekick. Now we're gonna meet the people that work for them. So essentially, like we said before, they're the people that came in looking for a cheap place to stay, signed their life away. Now they owe her a whole bunch of money. pretty much is what the gag is. And so we have an accountant. We have I don't remember. I think she works on pipes. Yeah. She's a plumber. I don't know what the right word is. We have a telephone lady, like, you know, an operator. And then we have a comedian, right? Accountant, comedian, plumber, telephone operator. Yeah, they're the four. Plus Noodle, who's been working there for a while. They really gave me the energy of like the strong ensemble members that speak. It sounds so bad, but the ones that talk, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's only like four of them, and there's four of them, and they're telling their stories. This is how I got cut up. This is how I got cut up. This is how I got cut up, and this is how I got caught up. Now, this next group of people, this is Prodno, Slugworth, and Fickelgruber. Y'all, they were very much giving nicely, Benny, and the other one that start off. Guys and dolls, I got the horse right here. The name is Paul Revere. Yeah, they were giving that energy, and they were these three guys. That were essentially pretty much the villains in the story because they were the fellow chocolate makers. And so their big beef with Willie was that he was making chocolate. Right. Because they was going to sell, because I mean, his chocolate is better than anybody else's chocolate. I mean, duh. But like, they were very much upset about it. And the lead, when he was black, he was very much serious about what was going on. Like, he was like, this ain't gonna happen. And then there's a plot twist, etc. But yeah, so those are the characters of this show. All right, y'all. So the next thing is going to be directing / choreographing, very much giving like the creative team moments, like what the stuff they worked on, if that's a thing, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think they did a great job. That's gonna be the answer for everything because I love the movie, but. Honestly, when I think about how the show was shot, the blocking of the show, the choreography in the show, it was so good because it wasn't too much. I feel like it's so easy to take Willy Wonka over the top and make it non-realistic. But when you take a moment to step back and be like, this is a person that has problems, that's been through stuff, that has trauma. You know what I mean? Like, you can very much build a show that people can relate with. And that's what they did. When I talk about the choreography, I think that... Like I mentioned before with Willie, I feel like there wasn't too much. And I feel like that's a very big thing. It wasn't too elaborate. It wasn't too crazy. But it gave the energy of the show. Like, it was very much giving step, pot of a race, spin over your shoulder. You know what I mean? And that's going to give walking through a mall. You know what I mean? Walking through the, what is it? Galleria? Whatever it was. But that's what's going to be conducive to the point. Like, there's a trio that happens between Prodno, Slugworth, Fickelgruber, and they're standing in between these three little, it's like that, y'all. But there's three of them, and they're all in their own, like, little house, like, in this area. And choreographing to fit that, like, at first they were all three in one, and then they each split off into their own, and it's like, okay, that's smart. That's creating blocking within the choreography, or vice versa. And I feel like that's something I really look for in theater because so many people overdo it. And it's just like when you're able to acknowledge these moments of now we're speaking together, now we're having our own moment, you can then tell a story that's, like I said, more realistic and more relatable for the people to watch. So yeah. That's the direction. Boom. So let's talk about the music. I feel that, and this is not just music that was sang, this is also underscoring. Y'all, as many times as I heard the da 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 da, as in come with me, that part. As many times as I heard that intro but the song didn't start, I was like, that's smart because you're taking the moments that matter and you're gonna go ahead and emphasize them with this little bit of underscoring. That's how you're gonna make it all so much better once we actually get to the song. Like, I don't think people realize you can tease just a little. No, don't tease me too much because then I'm gonna get mad. But there was 3 moments, and I'm pretty sure one of them was when he was talking to Noodle, pretty much talking to his protege or talking to someone younger than him that he sees himself in, and the not the come with me, but the da da da, like that. It was like, okay, where are we working towards? Because now we see steps and we're getting somewhere. Like, that was amazing. On top of that, Timothée Chalamet's voice was good. Calla Lane's voice was good. Even when we had the moments of ensemble, like I talked about with Prodno's Fickelgruber, the rich people, the rich chocolate makers, when I talked about them, and then when I was talking about the workers, like they all, as an ensemble, were so great. And then there were so many moments between like Willie and an ensemble member where like he was like, hey, this is my chocolate. And so I feel like those moments really were able to build because he gave them their authenticity. Like someone was like, he was like, close your eyes, and he was like, and then he ends up walking up a ramp in his in Willie's chocolate shop. Like, that's so great because you're creating these moments in between. So the music is filling the gaps between the text and the dialogue and the blocking and the choreography. Like, that is what we're doing. Like, it's literally bridging it all together and creating this foundation so that we can begin to see the work and see the story that's going to unfold before us. That's what the music has been doing. Like I said, all these people sound great. Really good. Like, I'm not just saying that, they sound good, y'all. And look, we're not looking for somebody parking and barking, like belting face. Like, we're not looking for that, but we're looking for the authenticity within the story, and it fulfilled its goal. Everybody's objective was achieved at the end of the day. So yeah, boom. All right, y'all. So let's talk spectacle. I feel like I really enjoyed the fact that it was like a cohesive town. And of course, like, you're filming somewhere, everything's going to look the same. But it was very clear to me that they were able to use different angles to kind of tell a different part of the story. And I really enjoyed that. There's one part of the story where they go into a whole zoo. You know what I mean? And at some point, you kind of see the whole idea, like, they saw a giraffe, y'all. And they're looking up at the giraffe, and you kind of get that angle, but then you also see the angle where they're next to each other because she's on a ladder. And you can see the giraffe and her kind of looking at the giraffe and almost longing for something else. You know what I mean? And it's like thinking about stuff like that where you're able to then take moments like that. First of all, if you're going to have a giraffe in a show, spectacle is through the roof. Like, why do we have a giraffe in this show? You know what I mean? But we get into that in the story, of course. But like, things like that. Also things like after when they leave the zoo station and we're playing with balloons and they're running at the top of a building and the balloons take them up over the water. It looks like they're running on water. Like that gives them, during, I believe it's during For a Moment, like I was saying about Kala and Timothy's duet. It gives them that idea of freedom from what they've been held to. For Kala, that's been the scrub it shop. You know what I mean? For Willy Wonka, that's been he's been holding on to this thing of his mother, and it's like he's lacked so much in life. And even he'll tell you, once again, it's something I covered in the story, but he has based his whole life on chocolate, and then everything else is just the kindness of everybody, the kindness of others. So it's like when you wear your heart on your sleeve that heavily, you're going to have moments where you doubt or you're scared. But it's almost like we'll get through it. You know what I mean? Like there's no sitting in that sadness, but moving forward. And when you meet somebody who's constantly sad, you see we see the contrasting values between them both, and then how they kind of cross over and take the role of each other. You know what I mean? Now Timothy's locked up, and we see Kala's character, Noodle, we see her running around in the zoo, and it's like, okay, we're seeing each other's lives. We're enjoying a moment between each other, and it's not even like, first of all, people think you can't enjoy a moment unless it's romantic. I love seeing a moment between two people, a platonic moment, just to be clear, where people are just having their moment. They're enjoying each other's company. They're enjoying what one is showing the other. Like, that is so beautiful to me. So beautiful. And I got into the story, but the spectacle as well, I feel like it helps so much with that. Like when we think about like all these different things that Willy Wonka has created, the chocolate that makes people fly, chocolate that makes people grow hair, like the chocolate that gives people confidence, like that is such a thing that how do we capture that in a movie? You know what I mean? Of course it's easier than in a play because you can use CGI or whatever else, but it's like when you're using that spectacle in a movie, I feel like it's not as literal, or it's I don't know, y'all. But when you're using that spectacle in a movie, I feel like it can go too literal, where it's like, oh yeah, let's just make them look taller. But no, you kind of have to play into this, okay, if we're making people fly, when do they start floating? How do they start floating? What happens when they float? So one thing was like, oh my gosh, people are floating. Oh, his toupee fell off. You know what I mean? I feel like it almost gives that aspect of like, this is what we're going for. We're going for that whimsical, fun thing, but we're not taking it too far over the top to where it's almost like a joke. You know what I mean? Like it's very much like, we already know he's making chocolate that makes people fly. That's not normal, right? But it's like, how do we then enhance that to where it's enjoyable for the audience on a lower level than like the oh my gosh this is amazing level, because I feel like that's not even that's only gonna last 2 seconds. But when you can make it resonate with people, I feel like that's really when you're creating something that gives people something to talk about, you know. But overall, I do think they really encompassed these amazing moments of Willy Wonka's work happening. Like, when I talk about the chocolate that makes people grow hair, their hair was changing colors in a moment, like, because the chocolate was poisoned. It's like, you see all these moments and it's like, oh, that's what's going on. Oh, they're very much doing that. Like, I love a moment where you're like, wow. Like, there's this moment where when the police officer, he's eating so much candy, he just gets larger and larger and larger. And it's like, at some point he can't even get, like, he's trying to get out of his car and he's struggling a whole bunch. And it's like, seeing stuff like that, like, you can't help but laugh. It's like that whole Violet Blueberry moment. Like, it's like you can't fight that. It's just it's so lovable, it's so interesting, and it's amazing. So let's talk about the text. I feel like the text is so funny to me because, like I said, memorizing this whole play is not easy, and because it's the origin story, he talks less. Look at that. I feel like it makes sense that he talks less in the origin because it's like the whole main movie is him telling everybody what's going on. You know what I mean? Like why he did what he did. But this is the beginning of it, so he's still kind of figuring it out. And I really think that they did a great job of using like the whole like whimsical, like double huh, that means something. Like I love that. Like I feel like moments like that are what kind of give us the whole like I'm watching Willy Wonka right now. Like we're experiencing it together. Moments like that. I feel like another moment is when he says like, what is it? Strike it, reverse it. That's an ode to the musical. He has a whole song about that. But he says, what is it? Listen down, and something up. And he says, strike it, reverse it. Okay, listen up. You know what I mean? We get the vibe. But I feel like on top of that, you can see the difference between Scrub It and how they're like, this needs to happen, and I'm mad at you, and da 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 ba ba ba. You know what I mean? And then we see him like, oh, I have an idea. The little orange man stole candy from me. Like you see the way he talks, because he could have said so many words to describe that. He could have been like, this guy who I think this guy is, you know what I mean? But he said the little orange man. I feel like that very much gives Willy Wonka. I also just feel like the fact that like the way he speaks, the way he's delivering lines, the text lends itself so well to that because we kind of get to see the moments between the difference in the way that they speak. Like Noodle's like, hey, I told you, like I hate you. Oh my gosh, like she's talking like a kid, but it's very much like an educated kid. Like I know what should be happening. I know this is unlawful, and I have a problem with it. So it's gonna be like that. Backed behind that, like I'm still a child, like I don't deserve this. You know what I mean? And then you see Prodnose and Slugworth. Who is it? Philip, whoever he is, he doesn't like the word Paul. So he goes, I just got sick in my mouth. Like words like that, like I got sick in my mouth. Girl, be quiet. You know what I mean? Or literally just like when you think about like the dialect in which the text is spoken, instead of saying oompa loompa, they say oompa. Oompa loompa doopa dee, like stuff like that. I feel like it very much is going to tell even more of the story instead of it just being like, everything's up here and everybody talks like this. And when I'm mad, I'm going to talk like this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it gives the layers too. The fact that people have accents and some people don't. Noodle, we took the biggest plot twist, y'all. Noodle and Slugworth are family and have 2 different accents. Simple. Like, that's very much going to get... She grew up with these people with an accent, but she doesn't have an accent. Like... How does that work? I feel like it tells so many different stories. And when you marry that with the text and the way that they speak and the dialect, what is it? The dialect that they speak in. I just talked about the accents, child. But y'all get the vibe. But when you marry all that together, you're really going to tell a solid story. And I feel like the writers, when writing this story, because it's really all not made up, but like all of it was made for this movie. Like none of it was like copy paste, none of it at all. And so I really respect that, and I really enjoyed taking a look at it. Yeah. Last but definitely not least, my overall view or overall review of the movie. Y'all, I can only say it so many times. I loved it. I loved it so much. I admire it so much for the story that it told. And I want a second movie. I want like a Wonka 2 where we talk about how we get from just getting the factory to getting shut down to reopening, because the original movie is the factory reopened, but I want to see what happened in between him buying it. You know what I mean? Like, does he meet his father? Did Pride Knows them get out of jail, and then we end up having like a little tussle? You know what I mean? Like, because we know that they end up stealing his stuff, stealing his ideas, and then he goes out of business because he's upset because people are spying. You know what I mean? So we know all of that. How are we going to get from that to him reopening? You know what I mean? Like, what strikes his interest? I feel like he could very much give a really interesting story. On top of that, I think we can play with the whole Noodle character. You know what I mean? I think we could really go into that and make Charlie one of her kids. I see it. That's all I'm saying. Library could shut down, and they end up a little poor, and then Charlie walks by, and Wonka's like, there are good people in the world. Boom. You know? Very much be giving. So, yeah, I loved it. Y'all should go see it. It came out in December. But, like, it's a really good movie, y'all. I think y'all would enjoy it a whole lot. So, yeah. So, if you made it to the end of this video, I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. On top of that, drop in the comments if you made it to the end. Drop in the comments, like, a chocolate bar. And tell me if we want to do a Q&A about me playing Wonka. We could do a Q&A about anything else. I don't know. Tell me what y'all want to see. I think it'd be really dope to tackle it. And kind of just give y'all what y'all want. You know? I feel like I love that this is, like, y'all are commenting and liking and subscribing, right? And so I'm getting those comments and likes and subscribes, and then I can produce content that y'all want to see. You see what I did there? Anyway, but thank you so much for watching. Yeah, like I said, oh, and the quote, the text. At the end of the day, every good thing in this world started with the dream. So go after your dreams for those that are after you. And I'll see y'all later.